It is time for our June reading wrap-up, and I have read 9 books this month for a total of 2,670 pages. A little low for me, but honey, what are you gonna do? I don't know, okay? I'm rolling with it. It was quite the myriad of books this month. There were some good ones, there were some medium ones, there was one meh one, and I'm gonna share them all with you. If you've been here before, then you know how this goes. I divide my reading wrap up into the best of the best, which I call buy it books, the books that I think are totally worth your time and your money. Then I have the borrow it books, books that I thought were middle of the road reads. They're all right, but we're not best pals forever. And then I have books that I call the skip it books that I think you should probably not bother reading because it's probably not worth your time or your money or anything. I lay it out this way so that you can stay as long or as little as you like. You can just watch the beginning, which is the books I totally recommend, or you can stick around, watch the borrow it books and the skip it books so that when you're browsing around Amazon or shopping at the store, you know which books to maybe look out for, maybe just skip. So it's up to you, darling. Stay as long or as little as you like. I will be here and I hope to see you in the comments section. Other than that, let's get into this thing. I was very lucky because I had 2 5-star reads this month. One was a nonfiction, one was a fiction, and one of them you'll recognize, and one of them you probably won't because it's not that popular, but girl, it should be. So let's start with the nonfiction first. You're gonna recognize it from my new release video, if you watched that already, The Last Pirate of New York, A Ghost Ship, a Killer, and the Birth of a Gangster Nation by Rich Cohen. I loved this book. I don't really hand out 5 stars like candy or anything. I'm pretty, I don't know, I like to save them. And I thought this book was really worth it. It's a short nonfiction about this crazy story about this crazy guy in 1860 who robbed a ship, was kind of a pirate, was also sort of the first gangster of New York. He was the gangster that the gangsters told stories about. All in all, if you like history, if you like true crime, or if you like books set in New York City, then this is gonna be a winner for you, and I totally recommend it, and I want you to read it so that we can talk about it, please. I'm begging you. I have to talk to someone about this crazy story. The other 5-star book I read is one I was late to the party on, but I was there nonetheless. It's Where the Crawdads Sing by Delia Owens. This has been really popular for a while. I think it's been on the bestseller list for like something crazy, 10 months, something like that. And congratulations to her, because even at a publishing event party, people were talking about this. They were talking about how it was not expected to do very well at all, and boom, there it came. Out of nowhere, surprised everyone, and it has done phenomenally well. So congrats to the publisher, congrats to the author, because this was a really unexpected success, and that in itself is a fun, nice story. This is a book set in the South. It's a book that's a lot about nature, about coming of age, and about innocence being challenged by society. It's a really great read, and I was not expecting a lot because often the hype ruins books. I feel like whenever something's highly recommended, you almost are better off going in with a blank mind, because otherwise it can ruin it for you. But this one surpassed my expectations. I completely understand why it has been so successful. And here's why I think that is. I think it's because this book, the story itself, is really grand. It's part murder mystery, part coming of age, part a celebration of nature. So there's some really great elements going on there. And the story itself can be complex, but the writing style itself is so smooth, so approachable. It's like anybody could enjoy this and take it in. Stylistically, it kind of reminded me of The Help. Not at all really in the story, but just in the writing style and how approachable it was. And The Help was also a book that did really well. The Help was a great story, but the writing anyone could read, anyone could enjoy, and I think this book does the same. Also for me, being someone who really enjoys nature and someone who's from the South, there was a lot in this that connected to me personally, but I think that that's just something that is romanticized to a lot of people, and again, why so many people enjoy it. So if you haven't read this and you too are late to the party, go for it. I borrowed this from my mom, who is going to lend it to my aunt next, so we're sort of passing it around the family, and I have to give this back to my aunt after this video, so thanks Mom for letting me borrow this. So 2 5-star reads. It almost never happens, but now we're gonna get into the 4-star reads, still in the buy it recommended section we are in. So here we go. The first of those is actually a non-fiction called What Doesn't Kill Us by Scott Carney. The story behind this is actually pretty complex, so rather than go on for a long time in this video, I'm going to make a dedicated video for this book so I will see you in that video about it, but I just wanted to say for the wrap up that I did really enjoy it. It was very interesting, very fascinating. It's about a unique method that promises the body to be able to do some pretty crazy, amazing things. It's pushing the boundaries of modern science, so if you're interested in that, check out the video I've got coming for you later. But let's get on to the next one. That is Lady Cop Makes Trouble. I have been reading this series now, The Cop Sisters. This is book 2, and you'll probably see book 3 in next month's reading wrap up. There's a 5th book coming out in September, and the publisher sent me all of the series for me to catch up on, and I have been really enjoying them. It's about a woman named Constance Cop, who is based on a real person from the 1910s, and she was one of the first lady sheriffs or lady cops to exist. And they're based on her adventures, and the cast of characters is so fun, and this book was just as enjoyable as book 1. Not quite as like top tier as the book 1 is, but I feel like that's always the case with book 2. Am I right? So still very enjoyable, and I'm excited to do book 3. If you like historical fiction and if you like great characters that are like warm and cozy, then this is definitely one for you. It's also kind of like traditional mystery-esque, so really fun. Last in the 4 stars is a book called True Places. This book was actually requested to be reviewed by the author herself, and I don't say yes to those a lot, but something about this book just spoke to me, probably because it is actually set very near my hometown, which is really cool. I don't know if you've ever read a book that is set in your hometown, but the satisfaction of a character driving along a street and you know the name of the street, you know the buildings and all that, is really, really fun. So that aspect was great. But overall, this book is about family and about the growing pains of being a successful family. It's set in the Blue Ridge Mountains of Virginia, which is where I'm from, and this mother of 2 is driving along when she sees this girl who does not look well. She looks kind of, all her clothes are torn up, she looks sick, and she's all alone. So the mom pulls over to see what's going on. She ends up taking this girl into a hospital where she's treated for her illnesses, and it turns out no one knows where this girl has come from. She claims to have grown up in a cabin with her parents completely alone, and that she has spent the last 5 years completely by herself after her parents both left. That in itself adds a bit of a mystery to the story that you want to untangle, like who is she, what's she gone through, and all that. But really that's not what the story is about at its core. It's a nice element, but the story is really about the family that takes her in and how her presence makes them question why they do the things they do, their place in the modern world and society and culture, and whether or not that's really making them happy, and how they can make changes to realign themselves with who they really are. If you like stories about family, and you don't need to like the characters, because this is a transformational story, so a lot of the characters, they're very real in the sense that you're not always gonna like them because they have problems that they're working through. So if you like stories like that, then this will be a really fun one for you. But if you need to like the characters, then probably skip it. But I really enjoyed this book, and overall I thought it was really well done. I liked the connections to where I grew up, so that was really fun for me. Just go in knowing that this is a transformational family novel, and I think if you're into that, you would really enjoy it. That is it for the books that I definitely recommend, and if that's all you wanted, cool, glad to see it. Drop me a comment below and I'll see you next time. But if you want to stick around for the borrow it and skip it sections, then here we are, and let's get into it. The first in the borrow it section is the biography I have read for my Charles Dickens research. Every month I do, or every month-ish, I'm trying to do a video where I research an author and then share some of the more interesting facts about their life with you. So the video for Charles Dickens will be coming soon. I know I'm late on it. I'm doing a huge website update that I'll share with you soon. So things like this have sort of taken the back burner because they're really just for fun. But I'm still really excited to have another one out for you guys in that series. And this book on its own is pretty enjoyable. I like the approachable style. There's lots of photos inside that make it really just, I don't know, you get to be more in the moment and can better imagine the history rather than just a book that's chock full of text, really tiny. So it's a really approachable biography, and I appreciate that with so much else going on. The Mary Shelley biography was by the same publishers, which I think I'm gonna look into more because I quite like the style of their biographies. So definitely enjoyable. Dickens, A Public Life and Private Passion, the details of which I shall share with you very soon. Next in the borrow it pile is a really unique kind of book called Walking. This book is literally about walking. It is about the author's own unique thoughts and sort of research and just a compilation of essentially straight from the head thoughts about the art of walking, the beauty of it, and what it means to us as humans in our history and in our personal growth and our health. A A lot of this is really spiritual, and I liked those aspects of it. Some of it's really, really gorgeously written, but I have to say, some of it is not so gorgeously written. Some of it I felt quite dull, or like I was just waiting to get to the next beautiful spot. So while there's some aspects of this that I really liked, and I think I'm gonna keep it around just to have it as like a flip through book on occasion, I don't think I would necessarily go out of my way to spend the full price on this, and I would say the same to you. So if you stumble across this and you like that sort of thing, then go for it. But I don't necessarily recommend that you run out and buy it. So I'm glad I read it, but we're not like best pals forever. Last in the borrow it stack is The Banker's Wife by Christina Alger. I got to meet Christina Alger at a Putnam Presents event, and it was really nice. She's so lovely. I super enjoyed her book a few years ago called This Was Not the Plan. That was like part contemporary, slightly mystery, and I loved her characters. I adored them, and that's what roped me in about her writing. Now she has gone more into mysteries and thrillers, like this one, The Banker's Wife, and she has another one coming out in July called Girls Like Us. So this is my first time reading her like mystery books. It's about a banker's wife, hence the title, whose husband suddenly and mysteriously dies, and she discovers all these sorts of like the underworld of the elite, if you will, and goes on a journey to figure out what happened. Elements of this I did enjoy, and it was a fine enough book, but also elements I thought sometimes dragged a little too long, or I wasn't super convinced, and sometimes I did get confused because there are multiple perspectives and some of them are quite similar, so I kind of found it hard to separate things out, and I didn't find the mystery overall that enthralling. It was just sort of good enough, and I'm hoping that her next book, Girls Like Us, will be more like the book of hers I love, This Was Not the Plan, in the sense that I hope I just sort of fall into it and love the characters. So we shall see, but this is a middle of the road book for me. Let's get into my one skip it book of the month, which was a horror, and I was really excited about it. A fellow blogger recommended it and asked me to review it, and I have to say I'm pretty disappointed in it. I think people are the pickiest with horror because everyone has their own brand sort of what they like, their own set of attributes that most appeal to them individually. And horror is a surprisingly personal genre, so it's very possible that this book just did not sit with me or just didn't connect with me on some level. And that book was A Cosmology of Monsters. Parts of this, I really enjoyed the writing. It's really beautiful at times, but a lot of it made me just think, okay, where are we going with this? And then when we got there, I wasn't that impressed by it. For me, it's just too much. It's like a love letter to Lovecraft, basically. So if you're into that, there's a lot of books like that. If you like that, then this will definitely be one for you. But for me, I don't know, it just wasn't there. It's about a family who has a history of seeing monsters, or one monster in particular really, but no one ever talks about it until their son eventually does. And it's about his connection with that monster, what that monster really is, and the effect on the family. For me, it didn't work. Kind of a bummer because the first paragraph is like super good and pulled me in, and I liked elements of it, but overall, I was wondering when it would end. And if I am wondering that too often and I've got 200 pages left, then I think something's wrong. So I finished it anyways because I had been requested by a friend to do this, and it was gifted by the publisher. But yeah, it just wasn't for me, and I would recommend to you to just skip it unless you really like Lovecraft, or if that just general description sounds really good to you, because horror is so personal. It's not like the writing was bad. It just wasn't for me, I think, and also just kind of slow. So I have no doubt some people will like this, but I'm just not one of them. So that is it for this June reading wrap up. I hope you have enjoyed seeing what books I got into last month. I would love to know in the comments if there was a book you loved or a book you hated last month. I always love to hear about y'all's reads. It's so fun for me. And if you're new here and you haven't subscribed yet, but you like all things bookish, book reviews, book hauls, TBRs, all the good bookish stuff, then I'm your girl. So go ahead, press that subscribe button, and I will see you on the next one. Thanks for watching. Bye, guys.